All right, so we got cut off, but basically it allows the economy to be more productive, right? When we go to a fiat currency, because we can create more credit, we can also create more dollars, and if we put those dollars into stuff that's more productive, building more factories, educating people in a real way, then the economy expands, and then we can support, the additional value of that money, right? So problems do arise though, because if people start putting more and more money into things that don't really increase production, then there could be the emergence of bubbles, right? Things where like people all value something like way up here, and then at the same time everyone just decides it's worth less, and then wealth is just like wiped out. Okay, so when you move to a fiat currency, there is that vulnerability piece. You just got to make sure that you understand why a society has moved to fiat currency, the benefits of doing it, and the risks and the dangers. Okay, so this is what impacts you. Now, the fun part, right, is like, what does this have to do with fantasy football? Okay, so let's create the analogy here. So let's say we want to trade Drew Brees for Derek Carr. Okay, what does that even mean? Like, if I'm the owner manager of the Saints, right, and so I have Drew Brees, and I pick him up on my shoulders, I'm like, all right. Now I hope that I'm gonna walk around and find whoever's got Derek Carr on his shoulders and be like, hey, let's talk, let's trade, And it seems silly to just imagine it, right? But that's like what type 1 currency is. I'm like, first of all, Drew Brees has better stuff to do with his day than to sit on my shoulders while I look for the other guy to trade him physically. So we're like, all right, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna move to a type 2 system where the owner manager talks to that owner manager over there, and we trade pieces of paper, right? Contracts, which is really just the right to his skills as a football player. I'm going to trade him for Derek Carr, right? And so they can sit in their house and relax and chill, and we're just going to trade pieces of paper, but it's still tied to him and his value. Like, once we make this trade, he's going to play for my team, and he's not going to play for anyone else during the time that this contract says, right? For this much time and this much money, like, he's here with the Saints, okay? But then, people started to think, but hold on, like, is there a way that we can get Drew Brees to play on my team too and that guy's team too? Yes, there is. Like, set the stage for the emergency of fantasy football, and right away we left behind type 2 football for type 3 fiat currency football, and that's what fantasy football is. That's exactly what it is. So now, if you don't know what fantasy football is, it's like you could be a guy in your underwear on your couch eating Cheetos and just typing on your computer, right? And you're like trading. You form these fake teams of, football all-stars, and you put together your all-star team, and you kind of like compete against other all-star teams. Like, it seems silly and goofy, and like, that's dumb, who would ever do that? Well, let me just set the stage. The Fantasy Football League is worth today $18 billion. $18 billion. To put that into perspective, that is $6 more billion than all of the actual NFL combined. The revenue of the NFL. Like, we're talking about real football. And by the way, $18 billion is about 5 times more than what the Dallas Cowboys are worth. Okay? So like, holy smokes. We're talking about real football versus fake fantasy football. Okay? And by the way, Fantasy Football League is on track to hit $50 billion in the next 6 years. We're talking about people on their computers in their house, right? They're basically pretending to be, not pretending, like they are the owner or manager of their own fake football team. And like, Drew Brees could play for like an infinite number of teams, infinite number of fantasy teams. And Derek Carr could be, and we could be trading like all these different people. And this whole industry is worth $18 billion. Holy smokes. Now, why is that possible? Because like it does expand the possibility of football, right? And it's kind of like, anyway. But the value of it is 100% based on what a collective audience values it, right? That's what fiat currency. So it's like, we collectively value Drew Brees and Derek Carr this way. And so that's the value of my team. And so that's exactly what fiat currency does. Like, so the US dollar right now is a fiat currency. It's based solely on like, what does everyone agree that the dollar is worth? What does that country agree on? What does that country agree on? What do we as Americans agree on? Like, what are goods and services selling for? How much currency is in circulation? All that kind of stuff. And so it creates this amazing phenomenon that we can expand production through credit and printing more money, but we can also totally crumble the value of the dollar if there's some sort of shock to the system and people get scared. Okay, so thanks for tuning in. Now, watch for the video that comes next, because I'm going to talk about like exactly what does this mean for you in thinking through, now how do I need to put my dollars, where do I need to put them? Or if you're a business owner, like how do I need to structure my business in a way that protects and shelters, takes advantage of the benefits of a fiat currency, but also protects it on the potential downside. So subscribe, set the alerts, watch for the videos coming.